Okay, after driving this thing, manual is the best. And this thing is light, actually. It's like a K car, lightweight. But the suspension is still to the comfort side. I mean, comfort is good for riding, meaning you don't feel the bumps or when you go through the bad roads. Okay, I have a Mazda 3, Mazda 2. The Mazda 2 is the suspension is more stiff, so when you go through roads, it it, it rough road especially, it feels very bumpy. Some more with the Sky Active chassis, light, but also we call it the organic chassis, which transfer the road vibration to the chassis. You feel the rough road when you've been through it. So that car is, I would say, more suitable for Japanese road or country with roads that are better condition than the Malaysia one. Okay, so I see the logic behind why engineers like locus engineers, proton engineers, product engineers, they tune the suspension to a more comfort side because of the we call it the road condition in Malaysia. The asphalt grade in Malaysia is somehow different. Maybe you should ask a civil engineer or geotech. Okay, so everything actually is nice. It's NA, it's front wheel drive. Of course, you can't do the drifting, but you can do the handbrake pulling. Actually, it's when you say it's a fun little car, it's true. Besides the seats, okay, the seat, Pro Dual seat, I have driven old generation, previous generations, and the current generation. Somehow, I find the Pro Dual seat are never to be ideal, meaning the seats are too high, and then the older generation is worse. When it comes to the headrest, it doesn't support at all, and the shoulder support also none. When you lie on it, it's only give you lumbar support, but the shoulder support is totally off. So for driving short distance is okay, but long distance your shoulder will be very tiring. Okay, I mean, when you given it, you are driving in a proper position where your hand is on the steering, your wrist can fall on the steering lah. Yeah, you say you can adjust the back height, okay, but when you adjust it to be more lean backwards, your hand will not reach the steering. So this will be a non-ideal position for driving and for defensive driving. Okay, I talk more about the defensive driving sitting position on the next video, maybe. So, but Pro Dual seats are never ideal for defensive driving position, and this can actually somehow drops the safety of a car when a person is not sitting properly when driving. It can cause substantial injury. For example, if you sit too backwards, your leg cannot reach the brake, or when you reach the brake, your leg is extended fully. Your wrist joint, your leg joint will be injured. Your entire leg will be injured by the force impact transfer when during collision. I mean, your entire leg will be impacted by the force of collision if your leg is not bent when you brake. That's why we have to bring forward the chair, okay, so that you step on the pedal with your legs, your feet, and your what you call that, with your this part bent, okay, so it protects your leg from impact. And another thing, when you put your hand on the wrist folding over the steering, it gives you extra maneuver when you turn the steering wheel. If your hand is too far away from the steering wheel during fast maneuvers, your your hands won't be able to stretch all the way to turn the steering wheel. Get what I mean? Right? So, and I think it's this gear manual is still fun, but I would say this thing can still be improved with the clutch. I would say the clutch maybe can be adjusted to a little bit lower where the engagement point, instead of nearing the end only the clutch engage. This is customizable for every car. So, and then maybe, yeah, probably this is old car, of course. The high tensile steel is not that much, or that not that stronger than the new model, right? Yeah, as car technology improves, right? So you might not want to have a head-on collision with your old car to a a better, a stronger car, because nowadays the cars are designed lighter but stronger strength, okay, with high pressure metal, high pressure chassis component, right? So okay, it's quite windy today. It's nice weather. It's been windy and cloudy recently, but like this weather, it's end of the year, the weather will be like this. So okay, so that's my remark on this car. It's a fun car because it's light, but it's not as strong as the new model chassis lah. Okay, the things to improve is maybe the clutch and the sitting position. Yep, and rear wheel drive. No, that's too much. That's a sport car, I would say. And K car is actually funnier than muscular. I never try. I think I tried before any muscular car, not yet. I think the most powerful car I tried before is a 2.5 SUV. I would say, NA car has its own charisma into it compared to turbo lah. I tried the turbo. Our most powerful car I tried is a Mini. Alright, so that is brute force. I mean, but turbo is fast in a straight line, but in corner it could be less fun. So whatever. So to the next car I'm going to talk is this old generation Saga. Okay, you can obviously feel the difference in the chassis of that old car compared to this. That car is almost 25-30 years old. This car is 11 years old. So the gap of 10 years makes the chassis lighter and stronger. Of course, compared to a newer generation of cars like Beza or whatever, or the Skyactiv's chassis, that one is another level lah. I will talk about that. But I mean, for Saga, the seating position is alright. I mean, that's what I like. That's what I like about Proton, and that's what the advantage of Proton compared to the Pro Duo in terms of seats. Proton's driving position and seats are actually better than the Pro Duo seats. I don't know why. Yeah, they somehow know how to make a more proper seats for the driver. I mean, the seats are not that high compared to the myvi. Okay, but I would say Mazda has the ideal seats position, because the seats is because of the Jimba Itai philosophy behind it. But later, Proton seats are okay, but their steering, I found a local car has weakness in adjusting their steering. They can normally, local cars, except the latest X70 and X50, where they can tilt the steering front and back. Okay, the older car, they only can tilt the steering up and down. So that one limits the ideal driving position of a car, which means you have to adjust your seats more towards the front, so that it accommodates the unadjustable steering. Same goes to the Saga. So the difference between the Saga and the myvi is in terms of the chassis lah. The Saga has a heavier chassis, and of course this car is old. The suspension also not elastic anymore. But I would say, and of course in terms of the engine lah, the myvi has a more efficient, more eco-friendly engine compared to the Saga, as emission standards tighten up to protect our environment. So okay, and of course the later cars, the engines are more powerful, more torque with smaller displacement, like the latest what you call that, GRRs with 3 cylinders. They can put out very high horsepower, and right, and of course with turbos technologies. Okay, more about turbos like sequential turbo or whatever those things. I mean, maybe that next video, coming video. So okay, about the Saga. So Proton is really having more spirited driving from the first generation till today's lah. I think the DNA is still there, with more spirited driving position, and a more sportier. Proton's gearbox is more sporty because it has a more clearer sequence. I mean, more clearer steps of entering the gear. This car somehow, I mean, this car is better when you, I mean, when it talks about going into a gear. Somehow it's not as deep as the old car. The old car can go all the way down to the first gear. So alright. And one more thing I want to remark is, please don't buy any aftermarket carpet, because first thing is smelly. It emits cancerous rubber smell. I removed the rubber mats from the driving position because it somehow disturbed the pedal there. So okay, and of course this car has smaller wheels, so it's more comfort, but it's less stable if you go higher speed compared to the bigger rims. Okay, another thing I want to talk about is the what you call that. It's not just about the comfort of the car. I mean, it's about the motion sickness of a passenger and driver, especially the driver. Okay, I noticed a tremendous difference in terms of the movement of a chassis and the movement of the head. I mean, in this Pro Duo car, the movement of chassis and the movement of the head is totally not aligned. This causes you to have a greater tendency of feeling drowsy compared to other car, right? Proton is a bit better, but the best tuning for this will be the Mazda car. It's really, as they advertise, they really go into very deep into studying the motion of a person's head and the motion of the what you call it, this thing, the tilting and the rolling of the car chassis. They try to make these two elements sync in the same pace to minimize motion sickness during cornering. Yes, and jumping and bumping ups and downs and left and right. They fine tune it so that the humans head motion is in sync with the car. All right. Okay. this knowledge about car chassis and the synchronity of human head and the car chassis is even better in the latest model of the Sky Active Vehicle architectures. Yes, I get it. The new model of Mazda 3 with the new Kai concept Kodo design has gone softer and more comfort. I mean, you can still be sporty. I mean, it's relatively less sporty compared to the first gen of Kodo design. Okay, but it still can be driven hard. Okay, but it's more it's more towards family comfort oriented. Okay, so if for those sporty enthusiasts, you might not want to consider that car if you plan to have a very I call that very fierce, very hard spirited driving. I mean, maybe you can get that car for weekend. Yeah, I mean, not it's not like that. It's personal preference is different. Some people, they have different tolerance towards sportiness and comfort. Okay, but I would use the word relative. Okay, the new generation Mazda 3 is relatively less sportier. It's more towards comfort based compared to the previous generation, which means that the previous generation of Mazda more sporty. The suspension is harder. It's more bumpy towards when go through the bumpy roads compared to the newer generation, which is much more quieter, comfortable and smoother with the GVC Plus and everything. Okay,